That's not supposed to be there. Okay, hold on a second. I think... There we go. On the phone, we have, with a little bit of luck, the great Tenaj. She's not there.
You don't sound appropriately obsequious, Dave.
I don't even know what obsequious means.
That figures.
Well, Tenaj, how are you? How's it going down in the city?
Dave, those don't exactly sound like my introductory Hell's bells.
I thought they were pretty good.
No.
Those are Christmas bells.
Merry Christmas, Dave.
Thank you.
Now, I just wanted to say, regarding your former guest, that some of us don't have to descend into the abyss. We're already there.
Yeah. I don't think that you would survive very long in the abyss that he's talking about, though.
Well, I don't know, Dave. Even though I've always found Otis Redding a tad boring, B.B. King's okay.
No. Otis Barton.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Do you know who he was?
I heard enough of this show, Dave.
Good. All right. Well, what's going on, Tenaj? How are you doing? You're in the middle of moving, aren't you?
Yes, there's a well-muscled young man breaking up boxes behind me, even as I speak.
Now, usually young men are cracking whips behind you.
No, I'm cracking the whip around here, Dave.
Okay. Well, go on, Tenaj. Tell me
What do you mean, go on? Aren't you supposed to interview me at this juncture?
You're the star of the show. You're supposed to be taking over.
If I'm the star of the show, how come I'm never on?
Well, that's a good question, isn't it?
Yes, I am indeed a Katrina evacuee, a double evacuee at this point.
Is that like a double amputee? Now, what's a double?
Dave,
what's a double evacuee?
You almost, dare I say, stumped me with that comment.
What's a double evacuee?
A double evacuee is someone who, on escaping the hurricane's direct hit, the flooding that came from the broken levees, and the looting by our darkly complected brethren in the city of New Orleans, evacuated for a week, a month, 2 months in my case, came back and found ourselves being evicted by our landlords, who claimed that they were just condoizing and you could sign a lease, but you would have to pay double the rent, in effect making me a double evacuee.
So what's happening to you now is...
This is happening all over the city of New Orleans, and the people in the north do not know this.
So tell us what's happening.
What's happening is gentrification. My landlord, like so many others, had dollar signs in his eyes. He just now concluded his annual Christmas party, and all the wealthy white people are toasting one another outside. So thrilled to have gotten rid of the Negro element in this city, it makes me sick. One would almost think they had broken those levees on purpose, taking advantage of the hurricane situation. It was disgusting enough what they did to these poor people at the convention center, waiting for days and days and days to have food and drink. When there was only a mile away, there was a giant Winn-Dixie, and as my associate here points out, a Kentwood Water Springs warehouse. Why couldn't that water be brought to those people?
So what happened?
They want them to die off as soon and as quickly as possible so that they can gentrify the city and take control, making it into a Disneyland of the soul, as was said by someone in the local newspaper Gambit recently.
And that's what's happening right now.
That is exactly what's happening right now, Dave.
Any examples?
Yes. Yes. Other than my own example, I'm saying on every street you will see moving vans. I went down to the U-Haul to get a truck. I asked a very astute young man working there about the situation, who was renting the trucks now. He said people being evicted right and left by their landlords who are doubling and even tripling their rent. He had seen this for the past few weeks, and no one seems to know this is going on because probably the powers that be have their second or third home in New Orleans, and they don't want you to know. But I'm telling the people out there that this is what's going on. The actual citizenry, the longtime residents of the Big Easy are being thrown out, mostly because they're poor and they don't have the right skin color.
How many people are living in the city now? Or how many people have...
I had heard a couple of weeks ago that out of a city of 500,000, we are down to about 60,000, although I'm sure many people have come back since. I'm seeing fewer, dare I say, gangs of Mexican men roaming the streets, and more tourists no doubt wealthy people enjoying themselves at everyone else's expense in the city. There were hardly any females here in late October when I returned.
So out of a million, there's just 60,000 people.
That was as of a few weeks ago. I don't know what the story is now.
Right.
I'm sure there are a few more, but what you and most people do not know is that we are in a nucleus of a donut of vast destruction. The French Quarter is 7 feet above sea level, and it almost looks the same as it did before the hurricane. However, if you drive to the relatively upscale suburban area of Lakeview, all you see are blocks after blocks of moldering buildings where no one can live, and there is no power. And there still aren't even streetlights on much of Canal Street, or they blink yellow constantly. There's no power for miles in that area. But that's the better area.
So the pressure on the area that you live in is great because it's livable. You have electricity.
No, it's not livable if you don't have a lot of money.
No, what I'm saying is it's a.
Oh yes, it was livable throughout the hurricane, and then the powers that be deliberately turned off the water, or I wouldn't have evacuated either.
Yeah.
Now on the other side, again, my associate who was helping me move and myself took the time to tool around toward Plaquemines Parish through St. Bernard, where it was the hardest hit, or just about, and we went for, I would say, about 20 miles. There was nothing. There was no light of any kind except occasional street lights. However, on the right of the road, between miles and miles of devastated homes and lawns that were spongy black with mold and God knows what else, there were miles of oil refineries blazing like Christmas trees. Meanwhile, the residences looked as though they had just been hit by the hurricane. Not a thing has been done. It is so enormous. You people out there cannot imagine.
Despite it being months ago.
It looks exactly. There's some piles of crap swept up. That's about it. Nothing. There's just houses with doors banging open on hinges. They look like ghosts sitting there. Yes, every yard has a pile of trash. We saw a few workmen, and really nothing has changed. There's no power. There's no water. It's not livable.
No, the oil derricks. Those aren't new.
All the oil is operating. All the oil-related things are blazing with electricity.
Right, but those are not new oil derricks. They're just
I'm talking about refineries.
Refineries.
Blazing with light stays.
So that's where the priority was.
Yes, I dare say. The only reason we stopped from going all the way down to the end of the road was after about 20 miles of absolute darkness, save for the oil refineries, the bridge was out and no one had repaired it yet. And this is the major road there, St. Claude Avenue.
Well, they don't want people to come in, I guess.
They don't want people to realize this is going on in their country. Except for a brief story on 60 Minutes, I have seen nothing that shows you people out there the miles and miles of devastation. Now, meanwhile, there are people speculating about moving back. However, if you have a house on a block surrounded by 20 miles of devastation, why do you want to be the only one to set up your house, maybe raise your property, and then set up a new house if you're the only one who's going to actually be living there and you're surrounded by piles of debris and mold?
Right. So what's the future for New Orleans?
I think it's on its way out unless it does indeed become kind of a quasi-exhibit. It's over. It will not be what we knew before. And these rich people clinking their glasses and chortling inwardly, they believe they'll inherit something grand for themselves, except that there will always be the hurricane problem because of the destruction of the wetlands. And no one stopped that in a timely manner, so the hurricanes are going to be worse. We're in a hurricane cycle, and maybe the next one will be the big one because the French Quarter was, in fact, spared. But for how long?
Didn't Bush release $2 billion for the levees last day or so?
I had heard something about that. I have not been reading the papers because I am moving, being thrown out abruptly. I've been here 8 years, in the French Quarter 16 years. I would have stayed on like many other people who can no longer afford to live here because they're hoping that all these contractors to rebuild the city will be moving in instead. But quite frankly, as I said, I went through 20 miles of St. Bernard Parish, that area. I saw almost nothing being rebuilt.
Yeah, well, you're like the Okies of the Depression headed.
Excuse me, Dave?
You're like the
I
Okies
don't
headed.
even like folk music.
I didn't say folkies. I
I
said
know, but we know what we're talking about.
yes. Forced to move
You're
out.
just trying to make some stupid pun about the gripes of rap.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't going to go there.
All right, continue.
So where are you headed?
Well, Dave, after years of riding the bucking gator down here, I'm going to ride it on out of the city up to the high Rockies. I'm going to mount the snarling mountain lion.
The Trail of the Sierra.
I'm changing oysters for prairie oysters, Dave. Not that I would partake of either, mind you. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm listening.
Now that I got the main stuff out of the way, do you have specific questions you would like to ask a bona fide sufferer of Hurricane Katrina?
No, I thought you were one that made people suffer, but obviously...
No, this time the suffering was not actually engineered by me.
Well, my idea was to take phone calls.
To take phone calls?
Yeah, we have had some phone calls, but the lines have, someone flushed the lines. And
okay, well, I think that was probably you. Can we open the phones up now?
we can, and if there's anybody who would like to ask Tenaj about what's going on in New Orleans or what her thoughts are about New Orleans, or have any questions about the great Tenaj or whatever the hell she is,
I'm a god, Dave.
you can call her. This is the only time we've ever done this, isn't it? We can call her. The telephone is
Steve, I'm so bored. I'm online now.
203 333 9756 is the number. I have to look because I seldom take.
Don't you have anyone listening to your program, Dave?
I do. The phones are blinking left and right, and then all of a sudden it stopped.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, maybe I told them everything.
So how did you? So in your
yes.
in picking a place to live, you kind of came across some very predatory people.
Yes, I did indeed. I had read, FEMA has yet to give me and many others any money, no matter what people say. And some of us have not been able to work because of the hurricane. And we are being thrown out immediately, and we're hopeful that somehow FEMA will help us as they promised to do.
Well, you're not a landowner. You're not a property owner.
Yes, I'm sure my millionaire landlord got his dough.
All right, hold on a
May I
second.
mention his name?
I don't know if that's a good idea. There's a call. Let me. Should I screen it first?
There's a call.
Okay, hang on a second. Hello, Pecan.
Don't screen the calls, Dave.
Yeah, hi, Pecan. Yeah, you want to talk to Tenaj? Okay, hold on 1 minute, please. All right, Tenaj, we have a caller.
Excellent.
Go ahead, caller. Oh, we don't have a caller. Hold on. Okay, caller, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Is this the lady calling? I'm calling to talk to the lady.
Yes, go on.
Yes. You're from New Orleans?
Well, not originally, but I've been here 16 years.
Wow. Because you sound Jewish to me from your voice.
I'm not Jewish.
I didn't think there were a lot of
Jews
Jewish
are my
people
favorite
in New
people,
Orleans.
but I'm not Jewish.
I thought you were part Jewish, Tenaj.
Not really.
No.
Oh.
Honorarily so.
Well,
Here, have
it really
some
doesn't matter.
Manischewitz, caller.
Yes.
You have a question for Tenaj, caller?
Yes, I was going to ask what's going on down there in New Orleans now, because I've heard all kinds of things. I know what those idiots in FEMA were doing. This monkey we have as a president, he does nothing. I just want to know what's going on down there. What is
Nothing.
people going to
FEMA's
do?
doing nothing for the people, and they're channeling money to the subcontractors.
Wow. This is just like the Halliburton people.
They are the Halliburton people.
This is like the vice president. He makes $93,000 a year from Halliburton, and yet he is the vice president of the United States of America.
He doesn't have a blind trust.
And it just makes me sick. I don't know what he's got. He's got a lot of money. That's all I know.
That reminds me of my ex-husband, a blind thrust.
You got an ex-husband, huh?
Well, yes, an ex. He was half Jewish.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry it didn't work out. You know, I was married for over almost 50 years, and my wife died just this year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you. She had Alzheimer's, so, you know, I can relate even to Nancy Reagan, even though I don't really, you know, care for them much as far as their politics goes. But I can relate because, you know, what she went through was absolutely terrible.
Well, caller, has Tenaj answered your question?
You know, I was talking. She seems like a nice lady, but I don't really understand what's going on in New Orleans because now I hear there's all kinds of new people moving down in there, and I wanted to know if that is true.
I'm not really seeing any people
is your name?
moving in. I see people moving out.
They're moving out.
Yes.
Well, didn't you? What about the rents down there? I've heard something
The
about
rents
the rent.
have doubled and even tripled. I know someone whose rent has tripled.
Oh my
overnight.
God! Oh my God, that's awful. How could they do that to you people down there?
Yes, workers can't afford to live here, so virtually every place that is open or is going to open or wants to open has a now hiring sign, and there's nobody to hire.
Oh
McDonald's
my God!
is going to be paying $9 an hour.
Oh my God! You know, personally, I blame the Republicans for this. If the Democrats were in power, this would never have happened. This would never have happened. The whole disaster, it would not have happened.
Have you ever been in a hurricane?
I've never been in a hurricane. I was in World War II. I was at Anzio, and that was in 1944. I don't know if you know that or not.
Was that anything like a hurricane?
I don't know. They were shooting at us. The Germans had artillery. It was General Kesselring, and we had General Lucas, and he was a schmuck. You know, he was not a good general. He was later replaced by a general named Prescott. I don't know if you know that or not. And he's the one.
I don't.
He's the one where we moved on to Rome. You know, I was not, you know, with a rifle. I was a cook. You know, but I was still there.
You were a cook?
Yeah, I was a cook.
What did you make?
I made whatever they gave us to make. You know, you got a cow. You made beef stew. You know, you got stuff from the army. You know, they issued the rations and they tried to make them taste good. You know, but you just can't make that stuff taste good. I don't know if you were ever in the army or not. You know, I don't think you were.
No, I don't think New Orleans has an army per se.
No. Well, you know what they got? They got a bunch of creeps running around down there who call themselves Halliburton. That's what I understand. You know, and they're making a lot of money, and no one else is making any money down there.
Now, do you think that being in the army was comparable to withstanding a hurricane?
I don't know. People are shooting at you. That's no good. You know, I didn't get shot.
Well, they did get shot at down here when the rescuers came, but not to the extent that they
God.
claim.
You know, I was hearing that they shot those poor black people down like dogs.
Yes, but
they
apparently
shot them down like dogs on that bridge.
Apparently, someone let fire out at the helicopter, which started the whole melee. But yes, they shot them down. But you know, some of these people were marauding with guns.
Well, I don't blame them for shooting someone who shoots at a helicopter. That's
what started it, apparently.
Yeah, but then they just went and shot everybody.
That's
what I understand. They just shot everybody, men, women, little children.
Well, I don't know, little children. I think maybe they didn't do that, but I wasn't here.
Well, Tenaj, if you didn't leave New Orleans soon enough, they would probably start shooting.
They probably would have shot you, my dear.
All right, we have other callers. Thank you, caller.
Well, thank you so much, and I can't get your site on the internet. I'm at my grandchildren's computer, and I was on, and now I can't get on. I want to listen to the show. Can you put me on, you know, in the background so I can listen to the show?
I'm afraid not, but we can send. I got to move on. Thank you, caller.
Well, thank you so much.
There you go, Tenaj. Hold on. You have another.
Another call.
Hello, caller.
Yes. Good evening.
Yes.
I'd like to speak to the sister.
Well, I'm not exactly a sister, but go on.
Are you a female?
Yeah, sort of.
Then your sister.
I see.
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Okay, you've been down in the Big East.
Yes, for years.
Okay. You've been down in the Big East.
Yes, I have.
And I've heard what you've said.
Yes.
Is it that devastating? I heard everything you said.
You want to know?
And
yes.
I'm up here in Connecticut.
Oh, really?
And
I'm from Connecticut originally.
hello?
I'm from Connecticut myself originally.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wait a minute. Let me get on another phone. This phone might not be a good connection. Just a minute. 1 minute.
No problem. Go ahead. Gentleman is going to change telephones and
Hello?
Yes.
Okay.
much better, sir.
Much better. Okay. So, I'm listening to this sister. I'm up in Connecticut, and I see CNN, Channel 4, Channel 2, whatever news. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
Okay. Now, what you said that really struck me.
Yes.
Okay, there's a lot of individuals down in New Orleans that have lost everything.
Correct.
So, your assessment, what you're saying to me, or what you're saying to the listeners, is that what is happening down in New Orleans is they are now converting the property damage that has taken place. There are individuals down there capitalizing on that property damage and are converting it into profit.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And those of us who thought we were lucky and could come back, the renters, are being thrown out so the landlords can make even more because of Halliburton's money being poured in, not to the people who lost everything, not to the people who lost their homes like me, although I didn't lose everything, but to the landlords and other greedy speculators. They're the ones that the money's coming to from the federal government as far as I can see.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Yes.
FEMA. Okay? FEMA. Are you saying that FEMA isn't relocating the disenfranchised?
To some extent, FEMA is, but they've recently been trying to throw them out of the motels as if everything's okay now. I just went past all this devastated property. It is a mess.
Well, it seems like they're relocating people out of New Orleans, not wanting them to come back.
But they're not compensating them fairly for their property. I hear they're going to have a kind of a fire sale.
Yeah, but people that rent, people that are poor who don't own property,
Many people
right.
own those little houses I saw. Most of them were in the southeastern area of New Orleans, St. Bernard Parish, Plaquemines. Those were owned by, they were one-family homes, and the people were not people of means, and I don't think they'll be compensated fairly.
Okay.
Since when are I would expect that also.
It's an outrage. Meanwhile, the oil refineries keep on pumping or whatever the hell they do.
Well, it's cold in Connecticut, Tenaj. We need that oil.
Yes, I know, and everyone thinks of themselves. If you saw what these people suffered, it would shock you. I took a few pictures. I wish I could have taken more.
I can imagine the devastation.
Iraq looks better than this.
I can imagine.
Caller, do you have any other questions or anything else you want to ask?
No, I'm just going to listen to what the sister has to say.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, Tenaj.
Yes, Dave. Do we have any more calls?
Well, we only have 2 lines, so it's kind of hard to juggle calls. But if anyone else wants to talk to, I liked what he had to say to you, the sister. Yes. Have you ever been called a sister before?
Well, you know, as the great Tenaj, I've had many fans who thought I might, in fact, be more of a sister than not.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else is going on, Tenaj? Tell me.
Well, ask a specific question, Dave.
I'm questioned out. So you're taking up residence in Denver?
Yes, I started to tell you about graft going on, crime.
Yes. Okay.
I had not been helped by FEMA, and usually one does not expect to suddenly relocate without any kind of business deal promised or relatives to help or anything. Just out of the blue, they have to relocate, as I did, or I am. And I really was hoping for the FEMA money. I didn't get it.
But you're getting plenty of assistance to get out of town.
No, well, people psychologically perhaps want me out of town.
Now, what I'm saying is, you've gotten some assistance in an apartment in other cities.
Well, I wanted to explain. I had already been told by HUD, who was promising all kinds of things when I had gone down to the FEMA office to apply. They gave me a pamphlet in which it said that a displaced person could receive up to 18 months rent and utilities, etc. And I thought, well, that sounds good because I am displaced. My child and I, for the first time ever, are not in the same residence because she had to go to high school immediately, so she's been placed with relatives. And so I've been trying to pack up and leave to find some new place, and I thought that would be a good idea if I could apply to HUD to get that 18 months assistance. I've never been in a situation like this before. Now, when I called HUD, I found out that because I was not homeless before the hurricane, nor had I ever been in Section 8 housing, I was not eligible for housing. And, in fact, nobody was eligible for housing through HUD. Just the people who are traditionally homeless or living in Section 8 will be helped by HUD. Now, at least I did still have an apartment, even though I'm being thrown out of it. I did have 2 months left. I don't know what these other people are doing, the ones that FEMA relocated to hotel rooms that they're now threatening to stop paying for. I don't know where they're going to go if HUD can't help the newly homeless, the people who have never, taken anything from the government, who suddenly have lost everything. And some of these people apparently had like a $60,000 mortgage on their homes, which will not be compensated. They still have to pay that money, even though there's no home left standing.
It's great for the banks.
It's an outrage. From what I understand, legislation was recently passed to ensure that if an act of God came along, those people would still have to pay for that. Meanwhile, who knows how much we've spent, we've wasted in Iraq on this silly crusade for more oil when you can't even compensate people in this country who have always worked hard, had their own homes, and now their homes are rendered uninhabitable. How come they don't get any help right now? It's disgusting. And you people, they need to get a TV crew down here to show that this is miles and miles and miles of devastation with no light. Nothing for miles except the oil refineries. There's nothing. I am not exaggerating, but for some reason, this is not being shown on TV, and I think it's deliberate.
Tell me about your experience with dealing with shyster landlords.
Yes. So anyway, when I found out that I was not eligible for HUD since I had been paying my rent all along, I started looking around for a new place to go. I had a good friend in Denver, and I thought I might go there. And I was also checking out French Quarter rents because I really wanted to stay in New Orleans, and everything was double what it used to be. $850 a month for a 500-square-foot apartment is ridiculous. So I realized I would have to move out of the area. And in the midst of all of the French Quarter listings, I saw the name of Dr. Paul Latienda, apparently a philanthropist from Denver, who was promising 18 months free rent, utilities, stipend, and everything.
So someone recommended that to you? You saw it in the paper?
No, I just happened to see his ads, and I thought, well, isn't that nice?
So he was advertising in the local paper looking for...
No, in the Craigslist online.
Okay, so
so I thought, isn't this great? Because that's the very state I'm interested in going to, and here's someone who's willing to help out a person who has been rendered homeless as a result of Hurricane Katrina, directly or indirectly. So I called him up, and he started to explain his program, and he was saying, for example, a man called me the other day from Chicago who had not received any FEMA money, and I said, literally, quote, why, I haven't received a dime. And this Dr. Paul said to me, excuse me, I think you're being rude. And I thought, there's a problem with this philanthropist right here. If he's telling a bona fide Katrina victim who's merely saying, although expressively, that they haven't received a dime, that they are rude. Then he went on a 30 or 40-minute, self-revelation about how great God is. And I don't know how many people Dr. Paul Latienda has placed, but he said he could set me up with a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. I had my friend in Denver have a look at the building. He told me it was so nice. It was really, a wonderful place, 18 free months, and my friend was appalled. The guy is obviously a slum landlord. He's profiting on behalf of people who are desperate. And indeed, just before my friend even looked at the building, Dr. Paul informed me, no, it's not going to be 18 months after all. It's going to be just 3 months of FEMA help, and then you're on your own. And I'm sure some people have been placed in those apartments. I'm sure there are slum landlords all over the country promising big deals, when in fact they're just getting substandard apartments filled with desperate people who don't know the areas they're going to, as I would have been, except I had a friend in the area who checked out the place. He said all he saw were a bunch of derelicts limping around. There were no locks on the windows. It was far away from the main city. It was not even particularly near the bus line, and I was supposed to move there with my 15-year-old child. It was an outrage, and I'm only glad I had someone to check it out ahead of time.
Needless to say, he was not one of Oprah's angels.
No, and that's another thing about Oprah. I am much better off than most people who lost everything because I have all my property. I just don't have a home.
Well, you have, yeah.
So I know I'm better off. So I'm not really speaking for me here. I would very much appreciate FEMA aid because I'm just borrowing the money to move, and I keep hearing FEMA will reimburse, but I know they won't. I borrowed the rent money because I couldn't work during the hurricane. But there are other people who lost absolutely everything, and there were many volunteers, and I think it was wonderful they volunteered to come down here and help the people in New Orleans, except that apparently Oprah had a show in which she gave them thousands of dollars worth of gifts to the volunteers. And I have not heard anyone else say this, but I found that a tad disconcerting. I think it would have been maybe nice had she given them each a lovely gift, but why should she be spending thousands of dollars of gifts on the volunteers who, after all, are doing it because they're altruistic? Why pay them off, which kind of negates their volunteer spirit? Why not instead have funneled that money into the people who lost everything? And no, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the people who have no home to go to or who have to pay a mortgage on a home that doesn't exist any longer. I don't understand why they couldn't get the laptops and the fabulous jackets, et cetera, instead. That irritated me, and I'm sure Oprah gave them money as well, but it's just that they need so much, and nobody realizes that they've been left with nothing. They say it, but, we hear too many things of people being left with nothing and aid being needed. But this is in this country, and it's massive, and you don't see how bad it is on TV ever.
Well, we saw how bad it was for about 5 minutes.
On 60 Minutes a few weeks ago, and I don't think anyone, even I didn't know how bad it was because I don't have a car. And so when I got this U-Haul truck, I made a point of going down there to look myself. It is much worse than anyone can imagine unless they've seen it.
Right. So you will be an evacuee again, and you'll be
I am.
You'll be resettling, hopefully in a new community.
Yes, and I want to make the point that the Red Cross, for all of the ill will that some people might bear it, the Red Cross has come through for me and other people when FEMA did nothing. And I also want to say Catholic Charities in Denver is helping me to some extent. And I'm very grateful because the federal government is doing nothing. Now, Catholic Charities is administering FEMA, but if FEMA had to do it themselves, they wouldn't get anything done because clearly they're getting nothing done. They were giving money in the Astrodome to people who had never even lived in New Orleans, and after they realized that was reckless, now no one can get any money, even though they're bona fide, sufferers of Hurricane Katrina.
That makes the point of government control of of money and
doesn't
programs.
work unless you're an employee of Halliburton.
That's right.
And I'm seeing this firsthand, Dave.
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. So I want to make sure that everyone knows the Red Cross and Catholic Charities have been helpful. At least that's what I have experienced personally.
So if people want to get a hold of you to talk to you or help you out or find out what's going on, how can they do it?
You mean a mailing address?
A mailing address, a website.
I do have my website, which is dedicated to the politically incorrect freedom of speech, and I am the Dom. That's www.voxtango.net. V as in Victory, O-X, T as in Tom, A, N as in Nancy, G-O dot N-E-T. Shall I give my P.O. Box?
Is your P.O. box going to be in commission once you move?
Yes. I am, of course, Vox Tango, the eponymous owner of the website.
What is eponymous? Does that mean like big?
Well,
big,
the website's named after me.
I thought it meant big flat bottom.
What?
Eponymous.
I didn't say hippopotamus. I said eponymous, Dave. May I continue? I'm sure that you're a joy for the show lists out there who listen to your program. May I continue?
Go ahead, Tenaj.
All right.
You got 30 seconds.
P.O. Box 70706, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70172-0706. And that should be listed on my website as well. Yes, I'm encouraging everyone to send me donations just so I can continue my good work supporting freedom of speech.
Well, I hope that things work out for you and you find your new abode.
Yes, Dave, it's going to be quite cold.
Is it? How's the climate different in the mountains where you're going?
It couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I believe it was 10 degrees, although it's relatively dry there. Here, it's warm, it's humid, it's under sea level over there. It's quite high.
I was looking at I mapped the address that you gave me on Google.
Yes, I heard, Dave.
And it came up an empty lot.
Thank you. That sounds like my life, generally speaking, Dave.
Well,
Yet I give and give.
You do. But you've certainly seen a lot. You've certainly observed a lot.
Yes, and I will keep shooting my mouth off about what I've seen and tell the truth long after everyone else has descended into their politically correct hell.
So how's your daughter facing the being evacuated?